Yo, Yuki here. The rebelling grows, the messenger of facts, the one born to be berserk, returning yet again with another excellent video. Today I wanted to go over the 10 best JRPGs of all time, Yuki's top 10 JRPGs of all time. And I wanted to do this because this is coming from a fellow gamer that loves JRPGs, man, putting hours and hours into great games. And after seeing that clearly undeserved trash winning game of the year, I realized, you know what? It's time for me to get up on the mic and show you what a real JRPG looks like, what a real RPG looks like. So let's waste no fucking time. Let's get right into it. First up on the list, we have Final Fantasy V. Man, oh man, this game is incredible in every sense of the word. You know, a lot of people love talking about FF7 and 9, 10, and whatever else. And those are great games. You know, I'm not saying those are bad games. But we can't ignore how great FF5 was. You know, this was a game changer for the Final Fantasy franchise. You know, it was so much better than Final Fantasy IV that it really, truly shaped the identity that Final Fantasy would be known for. You know, we have amazing characters, great combat, art direction looks beautiful, March designs look incredible. And the game was so difficult, the game was so hard at the time that Japan was like, oh, fuck, we can't release this to the States, man. The game is too fucking hard. You know, only hardcore gamers, real gamers, can play this shit. So it took years upon years, right, for it to finally get released to the States, to get released internationally. I mean, wow, what an incredible legend that Final Fantasy V has garnered over the years. And I've pretty much played every single edition of this game, the SNES fan-translated version we had back in the day when we didn't have the actual game, the PlayStation 1 edition, the GBA edition. I mean, man, I've played this game so many times, and I can always come back to it. The game is damn near 40 years old, and it still holds up. That's how you know that it's legendary. Anyways, moving on. Next up on this list, we have Fire Emblem Three Houses. Whoo, boy, yeah, now this is what I'm talking about right here. Man, Fire Emblem has always been one of the greatest tactical role-playing games of all time. And Three Houses just took it to another level. Implementing the visual novel aspects, you know, getting into all these characters, the replayability of this game is just incredible. You know, you get to choose your different houses. You get to get so many different party members on your side, right, trying to get an affinity with them. It's just incredible, man. There's just so many things you can do in this game. And it just never gets boring. It never gets old. You know, I put countless hours into this game on my Switch, and man, oh man, it's just incredible. Truly incredible. One of the greatest Fire Emblem games of all time. And yeah, people will be like, oh, but come on, man. What about Engage, man? What about Fire Emblem Engage? And I'm like, Engage is cool and all. But let's be honest, Engage's story is nowhere near as good as Three Houses. And they really had to rely on flashy bullshit, on anniversary bullshit, legendary bullshit, to get people into the game. Whereas Three Houses has an identity of its own. So, and you know, there's no comparison at that point. But anyways, moving on. Next up on the list, we have Parasite Eve. Whew, this is a classic right here. This is back in the day when Square knew how to make real RPGs. You know, sadly, something that Square has lost their way on. But if you want to relive the greatness that Square was, was once at, you know, back when their name meant something, before their name was tarnished, looked a little further than Parasite Eve. You know, an incredible game that has surpassed not only your typical JRPG style games, but also survival horror. It puts to shame so many survival horror games, makes Silent Hill look like a joke, and makes Resident Evil look like an absolute joke. I mean, the game is just so incredible. You know, the combat, being able to use all these parasite powers, you know, how you have all these guns that you can use and enhance the armor. Oh, man, just an incredible active time battle system they got going on here. The creature designs are actually scary. The environments are great. The music is great. You know, this was more horror than fucking Resident Evil. Resident Evil can never be on Parasite Eve's level. Man. And of course, the characters and stories, you know, came straight out of a, you know, old 80s or 90s OVA from back in the day. That bio-horror kind of feeling. And it is based on a novel, that's why it feels like that. But man, it's just such an incredible game. But yeah, moving on. Next up on the list, we have Persona 5. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, Yuki, whoa, man, that's a casual response, man. That's a casual game, man. Oh, that's a mainstream game, man. Oh, all the losers like Persona 5. Oh, it's the most overhyped Persona game. But listen here, motherfucker. Persona 5 deserved its hype. It's earned that title. It's earned that respect. And yes, I love the other Persona games. I love SMT, love Devil Summoner. You know, I've played through those games, man. But we can't sit up here and ignore and pretend that Persona 5 didn't surpass most of those other games. You know, I was tempted to put Persona 3 on this list, but I really thought about it. I'm like, Persona 3 is a great game. You know, there's no doubt about that. But Persona 5 always has that edge over it. I mean, the things you can do in Persona 5, you just can't do in Persona 3. You know, so many options, man. Oh my goodness. You know, so many great characters to choose from. You know, the visual novel aspects just hidden like they always do. And an incredible soundtrack, you know, probably the greatest soundtrack of all time when it comes to Persona. You know, what hasn't been said about this game already? You know, I think all of us know already that Persona 5 is of greatness. And it will always be. But anyways, moving on. Next up on the list, we have Black Rock Shooter. Now, this is kind of an odd one of the group because you're like, wait, Black Rock Shooter? What the fuck is that? Now, this was a PSP exclusive game, you know, back when consoles actually had exclusive games for their console, you know, and all that. And this game is pretty much a shooter RPG hybrid, and you're probably thinking, oh, but that sounds like Dirge of Cerberus or some trash like that. No, it's actually far better. And even though I enjoyed Dirge of Cerberus, this game understood how to add the shooting mechanics and still be an RPG, kind of the same vein that Parasite Eve was. Not exactly the same though. Now, this game is pretty short, but man, it is very fun, and it still has some good replay value. But more than that, the gameplay is just incredible, man. I love the combat system for here. You know, the weapons that you can use, the active time battle system. Oh, man, it's just so incredible. The bike gameplay is also pretty cool in here. Man, it's just incredible. Nothing short of incredible. And a great story to boot as well. It's probably the best story we had from Black Rock Shooter because I've tried reading the manga, I tried watching an anime, and all those were absolutely garbage. You know, it tried so hard to be like a dark, edgy, magical girl kind of story, and it just failed in every way. But with this game, the story, you know, you have this apocalyptic setting, right? You know, you have the last hope of humanity, you know, fighting with the last few soldiers left on Earth, trying to fend off against these aliens, just trying to, you know, get that better future, you know, have some sliver of hope. And man, I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you played this game, you know that ending is quite something. It's quite tragic, and I love it for that. Anyways, moving on. Next up on the list, we have Chrono Trigger, another instant classic, man, back in the day of the SNES era of JRPGs. I mean, this right here is easily one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. I mean, the art design, the sprites are incredible. Combat system, amazing turn-based combat here. Of course, you have Toriyama's art style to back it up, right? I mean, it's just such a classic, man. It's one of those games that can never be replicated. You know, they tried making a sequel with Chrono Cross, and yeah, that just didn't hit the same. But Chrono Trigger, man, boy, I've played this game so many times. I can't even count how many times I've replayed this game. It was that good. And yeah, if you don't believe me and you think it's overrated, well, then you're just someone that doesn't have good taste. I don't know what else to tell you. Anyways, moving on. Next up on this list, we have Yakuza Like a Dragon. Now, this is a more modern new game, but it's actually good. And you're probably thinking, what the fuck? Yakuza has a JRPG? I'm like, yes, and a very good one at that. Now, most modern JRPGs are kind of here or there. Some of them are kind of good. Some of them are absolutely trash. But Yakuza really knew how to make a solid JRPG, right? You know, you have all the greatest parts of Yakuza in this game, as well as borrowing some elements from Dragon Quest and putting their own spin on it, right? With a lot of memorable characters and a great story. You know, it's something that I wouldn't never expect it from Yakuza, but it works. You know, it works beautifully in this game. And man, it's just incredible. Next up on this list, we have Super Robot Wars 30. Again, another modern game. And for anyone that loves mecha, you know exactly what I'm talking about with this one. Super Robot Wars has so many games over the years in its run, but this is easily the best one. It's the most accessible. It's the most pretty much up to date. I'm not talking about Super Robots Y because that game is absolute trash. It doesn't do anything new. But 30 does. You know, 30 was an incredible game. You know, great team selections, great combat. You know, the best way to describe this is it's pretty much Fire Emblem with mechs is the best way to describe Super Robot Wars for people who don't know. And yeah, if you like Fire Emblem and you like mechs, then yeah, this is the game. This is the game for you. Next up on the list, we have Final Fantasy 13. Now, you're probably thinking, what? Final Fantasy 13? How did you go from 5 to 13? Oh, 13's trash. No. Look here, motherfucker. 13 has been disrespected long enough. I'm tired of seeing people disrespecting this game because the game is incredible. You know, it's an absolute masterpiece. The combat system, the paradigm shift is some of the best I've seen in Final Fantasy. You know, it takes the best of the previous games and puts its own unique spin on it. Characters are amazing. The story is great. The music is just incredible. The summons in this game are so damn good, man. Those Adolins, oh man, it's just incredible. I love the way they've updated the summons and made them kind of like their own battle vehicles. It's very, very cool. But the thing I love the most about this game is the paradigm shift combat system. Being able to choose your different roles for your characters and trying to figure out different strategies you can use for every boss fight. Oh man, that's real JRPG strategies right there, man. And again, like I've said with the characters, I love the characters. You know, I don't know why people hate Lightning so much. I think it's because Lightning's not hot and her personality is cold as ice. So they're like, oh, she's unlikable. Oh, she's not attractive. But I'm like, why do you guys do this? So the female lead has to be attractive? They have to be provocative to be a good character? Oh, they have to be dainty and ditzy and damsel in distress to be likable? Get the fuck out of here. I can't stand gamers that do that, man. What happened to liking the character because they're actually worth a damn, have good goals, actually have something decent about them? And that's what Lightning is. But anyways, moving on. Next up, we have The World Ends With You. Now, this is kind of an exceptional game because it's not your typical turn-based combat, kind of the same vein that Rock Shooter is not your typical turn-based combat game either. In fact, this kind of leans into ARPGs, and most ARPGs are trash, but this is kind of one of those exceptions. Another exclusive game for the DS. Oh man, DS had so many good games. But this is one of the ones that I feel like is still kind of underrated to this day. Yes, there's a couple folks that know about it now because Neo came out and people experienced Neo and then they went back and played the original. And I like Neo. I think Neo was cool, but it will never match up to the original though, man. The combat in here is just so incredible. You know, using those pins and strategizing what to use, you know, in every combat situation was just so great, man. Incredible, man. Just simply amazing. The characters in here are pretty cool. Neku and the rest of the gang. Man, the story is just so engaging, man. It's Definitely one of the best stories I've seen in an ARPG, especially. I mean, Kingdom Hearts can never. But yeah, great. You know, an absolute great game. You know, the best way to experience this is on the DS. The Switch version of this is absolutely awful. I would not recommend that. But the DS version is nothing short of incredible. It's worth getting an old DS again and putting in that game and just experiencing it, you know, as it was intended. Whew, man. But yeah, there you have it. Those are my top 10 best JRPGs of all time. All these games are absolutely impeccable. You know, they're praiseworthy. They're deserving of their praise. And yeah, if you don't agree, then whatever. I don't care. You know, this is my own list. I don't give a fuck if you don't agree with my list. You don't agree with my standards. I'm like, fuck you clowns. You know, you don't have good taste at the end of the day. And that can never be me. But anyways, with that being said, Yuki here, the Rebelling Rose. And until next time, I'll see ya.